It's come to that familiar point in a Street Fighter game's life cycle where everyone tells you to play something else like King of Fighters or Guilty Gear, and so you do, then this happens.
Oh, 6 tab, he's 2D.
Oh, this is counter hit! Oh
Yeah,
my god!
this is-
Oh look, look,
He's gonna get stunned.
look, he needs
Yes.
a CT!
Stunned. Bro, you know what that was? Is he dead?
Bro, oh my god, he's dead.
Round of a fucking applause. That was pretty clean. And you know the worst thing was that?
After which you'll be promptly ejecting the game disc into the sun and getting straight back to being banged up by Arm Eater players. The problem people have is Street Fighter over the years has established a baseline understanding of fighting games for a big portion of the players, meaning that vast deviations from those established norms are creating huge barriers for entry. Even simple things are seen as alien. In Street Fighter, it's standard to expect the vast majority of neutral to be on the ground, but really that just isn't the case for most fighting games. The thing is, you need to remember that these games aren't more difficult, they're just more diverse in terms of options or the spaces in which you'll be playing in. The fundamentals you know from Street Fighter, they're still there, and it's just a slightly different lens they're being shown through. Let's start by selling you Guilty Gear a little bit. Less specifics today and more of a bullet point list on why this game has captured my attention for the last few months. We'll be trying to ease you into the air dash extraordinaire, but later we'll be learning. It's worth noting that I'm going to be skipping the bit where I tell you it's fast and fun. Watch some gameplay if you're unsure of the game's flow or if you're entirely unfamiliar with the franchise. It frankly would do a far better job of setting you up than I will. I'm just here to point out some things you might have missed or misunderstood. It's a somewhat arbitrary starting point, but it still needs to be mentioned: design. Me personally, I couldn't be any less into the anime aesthetics, but it's undeniable this game has done exactly what it intended to. The occasional mention of the 3D engine on final hits alongside with incredibly fluid, exaggerated animations are pretty golden, and I think anyone could concede to that. Really though, what ended up sparking my interest is how visually succinct everything is. Even if you don't know what's happening, you know something is going on. This is a thing. This is a slightly different thing. This means something. And this is incredibly dumb. As much as I like to undermine this stuff, it does have meaning. Really, when I started learning this game, there was very rarely a point that I didn't know what was happening. I might not have grasped why it was happening, but at least I had a reference point to start learning and figuring shit out, and that was entirely based on the visuals. Really though, if you're already into fighting games, mechanics are what's going to matter to you, and fortunately we've got a lot. Here, universal mechanics are really the driving force of Guilty Gear. These are the systems that every character in the game has access to, and that is key to what makes this game more accessible than you think. There may be many, but few actually give overwhelming advantages. You're not going to find something that dominates the game like first strike parries, even though one does admittedly come close. They all give small offensive and defensive advantage, altering common fighting game situations and adding a little layer of depth, just allowing for more mind games. It's kind of cool really. A fascinating consequence of them are how they make defense active. There are around 4 that can be used while blocking, but all of them are choices. They all have counters and often don't lead to an instant reward. Instead, they change how the attacking player has to maintain pressure or open you up, meaning you're making constant reads and so are they, even when you're in a combo. It's nothing like Street Fighter, where ultimately a mix-up or a block string will take away most, if not all of the options for the defensive player, making it a really one-dimensional passive reaction or guess. In later videos I'll be giving examples of how these type of ideas work, but right now let's stick to some more abstract understanding. Now this sort of thing might sound great to you, but it does beg the question, how do you even start learning any of this stuff, especially if there's so much? Well, it's actually a twofold answer. Outside of Roman cancels and faultless defense, which you have to know, all of the other universal mechanics aren't going to change how you play instantly. You can pick them up in a modular fashion, learning one at a time, perfecting and understanding them, then using them and applying them to your own gameplay. Trying to consume everything about this game's systems in one swoop is just frankly impossible. You're not Rain Man, and you can still scrape matches off people without them. So you just have to calm yourself, close the Dustloop wiki tab, and start playing. I myself learnt this game almost entirely in matches, slowly trying to put things together, seeing how other people use these mechanics, and then tailoring that to fit my character and my playstyle. Everything has way too many applications, and even more situations where they're completely redundant. You have to move away from that recent attitude that a game is learnt in training mode and perfected in matches, because in Guilty Gear it's completely the other way around. The combo system really emphasises this concept. It's about as freestyle as you can physically get in a video game. You'll rarely have that Street Fighter situation where you're sat next to someone, hitting them with one attack and then doing a combo. It's all about weird stray hits after long air series, like them crouching or them jumping. It's bizarre, but adaptation is the key. All of these situations require like different combos and different timings, which sounds massively daunting, but once again it requires an adjustment of attitude more than anything. Combos work much more as ideas, as a template for getting damage. You'll find out what combos into what typically, and then you'll very quickly learn to adjust for all the variables that come. It's a natural learning curve that you will climb if you're willing to experiment in the game, not just outside of it. Maybe throwing in an extra button if they're too close to the ground, or delaying slightly if they're too high up. These are all unconscious decisions from your dialer combo attitude that will happen through continuous play. Trust me, it will just be like that time you learned one frame links in Street Fighter 4. At first it seems like an alien concept that everyone but you can do, but once it clicks, suddenly the door just slams open to this world of potential damage. You just have to keep with it. For mind games, Guilty Gear is one of the most generous franchises of all time. There is always something you can do, even in the horrible one-sided situations, and you'll constantly be thinking about how you can change the odds. Constant adaptation is what's going to capture your attention when you start playing. That scenario where you knock a Shoto down in Street Fighter and you block on their wake up to see what they do, that's what's going to be happening to you constantly. But unlike blocking a reversal jab and being pushed away, it will actually be enjoyable. The sheer amount of options both the defensive and offensive player has at any given moment makes every interaction incredibly revealing. It's like a stream of information being beamed at you, because all of these choices they make have flaws. It tells you what they're scared of, what scenario they're willing to gamble their life bar or their meter. You know instantly that they are scared of something, and if you're prepared, you will be able to punish them. You just have to know they are going to do it. That's really it, my TLDR Guilty Gear sales pitch for Street Fighter heads nervously looking at the franchises, wondering what they're all about. I could go on for hours, but these are the points I return to every night when I get home from work and I consider, right, what am I going to do with my spare time? They're what makes me come back every single time and analysing little situations while I'm on the fucking train home. It's just constantly engaging, and it's so fun to just play around and experiment and just do things in. I think Street Fighter has a big problem in some ways where it's just not necessarily fun to exist in that game. You're kind of sat there nervously trying to whiff punish stuff and then trying to figure out whether you earned that hit or whether the 6.5 now apparent frames of lag meant that you didn't get it. It's just very easy to just sit in this and air dash at people and have a bit of a laugh. I do suggest watching some footage of this game, but nothing will really make you understand until you play it and talk to other players. The big advantage of smaller games is the community are constantly looking to grow their scenes, so more often than not, if you ask, someone will help. I'm going to be back soon, and then we're going to be getting into the gritty of learning this game as a Street Fighter player. But for right now, hopefully this will give you at least something to think about, something that might break you past that thick fucking anime crust that resides around this game, and maybe get you into playing it a little bit. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'm TheoryFighter, I'm on Twitter if you give a shit about that stuff, and I'll see you soon. Peace.